We're going to get started here in just a minute or so good evening. I know some people are still in line, but as you know, one of the things that's true about CMCF today is that they do start on time and they end on time, and they also have given me a short script. So we're going to keep things punctual and keep things moving tonight. But I want to say welcome to everyone. My name is Steve Jewell, and I have the honor of serving as President and CEO of Community Giving, which today, thank you, which today is a collaboration of 15 community foundations, including the Central Minnesota Community Foundation, which is where it all began. It was 40 years ago, almost to this day, that Alex Didier invited a group of community leaders in the greater St. Cloud area to come together to create the Central Minnesota Community Foundation. And we are very pleased to have with us tonight some of those founders and very early board members, which I would like to introduce and recognize. Without these individuals, none of us would be sitting here or standing here tonight. First, I'd like to introduce, and I'll introduce all three of them and save your applause till the end. First, Kevin Hughes was a local attorney and a real leader in this community. Kevin, please stand. Don Watkins. Don was a local business owner, and when I moved to town, if anybody was doing any fundraising, the first person you'd call was Don Watkins. And John Leeson, the president of the Zap Bank, a long-standing legacy bank in this community and a great community leader and advocate for downtown. Kevin, Don, and John, thank you for what you've done. Also, we are very pleased to have with us our founder, Alex Didier's daughter, and now current CMCF board member, Jean Didier. Jean, please would you stand? And we all know that Alex is here in spirit with us tonight. My role tonight is pretty simple. First, I just want to say thank you to all of you. The Central Minnesota Community Foundation isn't a building or a logo or money in the bank. It's people. It's all of you. Take a second and look around the room. These are the faces, the names, and the legacies that make up this foundation. And as we go through the evening, whether you're hearing stories live or watching them in the videos, I encourage you to notice a common thread. People building bridges, working together to make a difference. That's what this foundation has always been about. It is the passion that each of you have for making our collective communities better for all. We are grateful for your presence and thank each one of you for what you do to make this community a better place. We hope you enjoy the evening and have an opportunity to meet somebody new, somebody you don't know. And now, I have the honor of welcoming to the stage a person some of you know has been a key leader holding CMCF together for over 24 years. For many years, she was the first friendly face you would see when you entered the CMCF offices. Then she quickly became the go-to person if you wanted information or something done at CMCF. She became adept at supporting volunteer boards and committees and was mentored by Barb Carlson and Carol Turnow on how to work with donors and set up funds to benefit the larger community. She has been so instrumental in CMCF's growth and impact, and today she leads CMCF with a truly outstanding team, and together with a fantastic board, they continue to carry out the CMCF's donors' legacies and pull them forward to support and impact our community. Please welcome Greta Stark-Crocker, the Executive Director of the Central Minnesota Community Foundation.
Thank you, Steve, for that warm welcome. Tonight, if you haven't heard, it's our 40th anniversary. What started as a simple conversation among community leaders about keeping their dollars close to home has turned into 4 decades of engaging people, connecting resources, and building community. Before we get on to tonight's full program, we'd like to take a stroll down memory lane with you. Please enjoy the following video about CMCF's past, present, and future. St. Cloud was a very different place 40 years ago.
We knew the impact a community foundation could have, but it was all about building that trust and relationships.
It was time to invest in our community, and we had leaders who had that vision.
There was a lot of philanthropy in the community.
It's a community resource that helps everyone.
We really are a collection of, today, well over probably 1,000 different stories of donors who care about their community and want to do something positive.
When you think of the hundreds and hundreds that are benefiting, to me, that's just phenomenal.
It's really engage, connect, and build. It's that simple.
We transform lives.
Those of us who can remember the 1980s, we were experiencing and coming out of the farm crisis. There were a lot of challenges across greater Minnesota, and there were efforts actually underway in the entire state looking at ways to help and support, in particular, rural communities. And here in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Alex Didier was leading the Bremer Bank and working with business owners and farmers. And it was his belief, having looked at other examples around the state and around the country, that there were these things called community foundations.
What Al had seen is that there were a number of companies that had sold. The St. Cloud Times had sold, it became part of Gannett, and so he was seeing these companies selling, and then of course those assets leaving the community. And he just thought that, you know, if we have a community foundation, we can have a situation where those fortunes that are made here can possibly stay here rather than just move out of the area.
Back in the 70s, in my position at First American National Bank, I could see that there was a lot of wealth and capital forming in St. Cloud in second and third generation people, and felt, well, this would be ideal for St. Cloud to have a foundation like they have in North Dakota and give these people an opportunity to contribute funds into perpetuity if they so desire.
And one of the things that he did that to this day I think was very admirable is he brought some of his competitors together, other bankers, and said, you know, one thing we share in common is we all care about central Minnesota. And there's this vehicle called a community foundation that we currently don't have, but if we came together, we could create something for the good of our community.
All the years preceding this organization, people were giving money away, and some of them in sizable $1 million, $2 million donations outside of the community. And our thoughts were, we have legitimate needs here also. So let's keep the money here and help the whole body of people in St. Cloud metro area.
After he explained it to me, I was still in a quandary. I got thinking about it more and more, and I kept saying to myself, how could you ever possibly get enough money, you know, in a foundation to be giving away 5% of little or nothing? Boy, was I wrong, and I'm so glad I was wrong.
They retained Ed Henry, who was a former mayor, to serve as an independent consultant to advise and assist with startup activities. He was so proud of that work that he did with Alex and the board to help really launch it.
Some of the money was collected at the front end was clerical help and someone to go out and make calls and understand how to make the calls for that purpose. So if you wanted to find someone from another organization, from another community, who could help you with those skills.
They recruited and hired the first official executive director, Leland Sam Newman. He was bright and intelligent, and he had a special expertise in writing grants. And so he wrote grants on behalf of the original organization to other funders, namely Bush. Even the McKnight Foundation provided some of the initial dollars in those early years.
No one was looking for a pile of money so they could smile and say, whoa, ho, ho, look what we did. They wanted to be able to say, look at the people we've helped.
But I was on the committee to hire Steve, and George Story and I were sitting next to each other. Steve was only in his 20s. And when we got it over, I said to George, I said, you know, he's very impressive, but I think he's too young for that responsibility. And George said to me, did you really listen to him, Don? I said, well, maybe not carefully enough. Well, the rest is history.
Steve Jewell's impact on the Community Foundation in this community is huge. Steve Jewell has been a key leader in this community. He has the vision. He's very visionary. He meets with other people to get ideas.
He's built relationships in the community. He understands community foundations and shares that knowledge freely with others.
And shortly before I arrived in 1996 was the terrible tragedy with Brian Kleinfelter being killed. And already members of the board at the CMCF were having conversations with the family about setting up a fund in honor of Brian Kleinfelter. And that was just a way where the foundation, working behind the scenes, could provide philanthropic support to a family. And so that's one thing that was happening back in 1996 when I arrived.
He is also one of those people that has a big heart, and that really is something that relates well to donors as well.
Alex, I will remember walking into my offices, into our offices that day, talking about a nonprofit in the community that unfortunately had some financial issues and was closing its doors. And Alex's main concern at the time was, is this going to discourage people from serving on boards of other nonprofits? Because it's challenging being a board member of a nonprofit. And he thought it would be a good idea to call people together to talk about an education and training program for board members of nonprofits. So we gathered a group of people together to talk about that, and out of it emerged a program in those early years called Board Smart. And it was about how to train and educate people to serve on boards of directors. That initial task force had a phenomenal representative from the College of St. Benedict by the name of Barbara Carlson. And that was my first interaction and opportunity to meet Barb Carlson, who would go on to later become an employee and a really important part of our organization.
I think she helped grow the foundation with her relationships and her relationship skills with all of our donors that we met with. She'd meet people and they would just want to talk to her.
My previous experience had been in working for the education of women at the College of St. Benedict. I attended a conference at the Community Foundation in Milwaukee, and they have a very successful women's fund. And I thought, I could combine what I did at St. Ben's with what I'm going to do at the Community Foundation. And for a variety of reasons, we thought it would be a great project for the Community Foundation to undertake.
The Women's Fund is an organization of central Minnesota that serves 3 very specific groups: girls aged 10 to 18, women who are facing any type of adversity, and elder women.
The original purpose, as Barb envisioned it, was to gather donors to really focus on women and girls in the community by providing grants to nonprofits who were already serving that population.
And so Barb sort of single-handedly started the idea and then really surround herself with amazing founding women.
The very first event was at the College of St. Benedict. And Barb Carlson had this notion of fundraising by what we called a Post-it note campaign. She had little Post-it notes and thought that we could get to someday perhaps $1 million by engaging different levels of donors in this Post-it note campaign.
And so they had these large poster-sized cardboard pieces up, and they had an event where all these women got up on stage and they took their Post-it note and they wrote their name and their commitment to the women of Central Minnesota by writing the amount that they would consider giving to the Women's Fund.
Central Minnesota Community Foundation is such a unique organization in our community in that it truly is a network builder. It connects resources, engages community, it brings so many unique perspectives and approaches to community problem solving together in one central place.
CMCF originally, that was the name of it, Central Minnesota Community Foundation. And of course, there was a need in Brainerd, there was a need in Wilmer, some of the other communities, and so that's when the foundation spread to these other areas. And basically, it was a way to take the expertise that Steve Jewell and his team had and leverage it over a larger geography.
Brian Myers was board chair and said to me, he said, we have these wonderful partnerships with Brainerd and Wilmer, St. Cloud, then Alexandria had joined us. And how is it and what actions are we taking to preserve our partnership and our collaboration and working together?
You looked at it from a governance standpoint and whatnot, you could see that, you know, this is a good idea, but if this idea is really going to flourish, we probably need to come up with a different strategy. And so that's where the whole idea of community giving came to be.
This model is built on the fact that we lead with local. So every local community is front and center, the local foundation. And yet we all needed some common services and support. So the idea would be that the corporate entity would be somewhat in the back seat. And so that corporate entity, for lack of a better word, became in essence a holding company. But again, the branding would all lead with local.
And community giving provides our backroom services, our financial services, HR, database, and website. So we can focus, the Central Minnesota Community Foundation team can focus on being boots on the ground in Central Minnesota for our donors. Steve Jewell serves now as the CEO and president of Community Giving. And after that, we had the opportunity to hire Carol Turnow, who was the first CMCF ED after the transition to community giving. So we're very lucky to have Carol as a mentor. Carol did a lot of work with equity. She cared about the community. She brought her expertise with working with donors from her other job before this one. And she also brought experience with planned giving so we could get some more legacy gifts in the foundation.
But our communities today are made up of people from all kinds of different backgrounds, whether it be economic, whether it be age, whether it be understanding of technology, or whatever. There's lots of differences that exist. And building community means understanding and respecting those differences, coming together and finding what you have in common and making good things happen.
What happened was these people, and it was people from education, industry, nonprofits, etc., took a bus trip to Dubuque. And when they got down there, they found that the community was speaking with one voice, and that one voice was about economic prosperity, community development, and it seemed like everybody was on the same page. So that group of people came back, and I was part of working on that to develop a conversation, basically, of how to develop a similar mindset in St. Cloud. And so that's where we came up with the community pillars.
In building community, it's not always what's in it for me, it's what's in it for us. And I think that's the key aspect of the work we do at all of our community foundations. How do we bring people to see what's in it for us collectively, as opposed to just what's in it for me?
Things that came about as a result of that were the Public Safety Foundation. The arts organizations were all kind of not working together, and so the Around the Cloud website, that came out of the community pillars. The GSDC was another one, because there was no regional entity that was working on economic development that was private sector led. And so there were a number of great initiatives that took place.
A group of Rotarians coming together along with others to make Lake George and Summertime by George possible. That's beautiful. Just example after example. And our job at the Community Foundation is to nurture that, grow that, and support that.
And the Good Samaritan Fund is a subsidiary fund of the Community Foundation, and our mission is to provide one-time emergency assistance to those people facing a crisis where nowhere else to turn to for help.
Dave Nowak and Dave Markwart knew people that were in need. They heard about a child who had, believe he had cancer and needed medicine, and then they had to refrigerate that medicine, and they didn't have the refrigerator, so the Good Samaritan Fund bought the refrigerator, provided the funds for the refrigerator.
We work with over 40 different agencies in central Minnesota. Last year, we helped over 700 people.
The Building Equity Through Action started in 2021, and CMCF's leaders' vision was to bring people together and to build understanding and relationship. And at the time, we wanted to know what are the disparities and inequities that we have in this community as it relates to education and employment and housing and community engagement. And so we brought about 80 leaders.
And over the period of years now, we've got action groups around housing, economy, healthcare, education, and community engagement. And the Community Engagement Committee pulls all those roles together and brings people together and helps promote those items.
I think part of the best work of a community foundation happens when we are willing to both be a participant and as well as sometimes be a catalyst to make something happen.
Really as a convener and bringing voices together and being able to have difficult conversations, bringing resources to bear on those challenging topics.
One of the things that's really important with philanthropy is it's not just the dollars, it's the minds behind the dollars. You know, you want smart money. That's the work that the Community Foundation does. The staff there researches the nonprofits, makes sure that they're legitimate, they're doing the right thing in the community. So when donors, whether it's through a donor advised fund or through other means, as they do philanthropy, they know which organizations are making a difference in the community.
To God Leadership Program was inspired by someone named Mary Thomas, who some of our CMCF team connected with, and were inspired to start a leadership program for BIPOC communities. They're usually younger people early on in their career. They go through an intensive training. It includes meeting with the mayor. In the past, they've had dinners at the mayor's house. And at the Community Foundation, one role that we have currently with them is that we have emerging board members come on. We interview some of the leaders in that program and have them come alongside the foundation and the board members and learn about community and what a community foundation does.
The Community Foundation made me feel like I belonged. It also gave me space and resources to connect with other, I would say, established leaders in the community. And the impact is that we have had over 100 emerging leaders go through the program, and we have paired them with established leaders in the community to kind of mentor them. And more often than not, the mentors say they learn more from their mentees than even the mentees themselves.
Create Community started as a mayor's initiative. Currently, it brings together people once a year and has conversations on race, where we bring people together across St. Cloud area and beyond to just have those basic conversations about race. You can be open in a safe space.
And it was the intersection of education, health, housing, and awareness building. And Create Community's vision was to make St. Cloud a welcoming place with respect and opportunity for all.
Connecting resources, that's an important function for all community foundations, and in particular the Central Minnesota Community Foundation has done that over the years.
And they are always there to connect you with anything that you do need, even if they don't have the resources themselves.
Bob Sullivan was the chairman of the board of Herberger's, the corporate division, and he had a son who passed away, and they created a fund at the Community Foundation to administer these dollars. And they had to give some grants out to support things in the community. And if you can recall, the YMCA was being really challenged in the old days because they built the building, but it wasn't fully paid for. And so there was some debt that was hanging on to that property at the time. And the Community Foundation made an initial grant out of those Sullivan dollars to support the YMCA in helping them raise some additional dollars to pay off that debt.
Our foundation partnered with the Y to keep that key element in our community, and through our fund holders, we're able to, and other community members, we're able to help raise enough funds to keep the Y open and keep that place for our whole community.
I think the role that the Community Foundation played at a critical time was very helpful, and it was a way in which we honor a past donor by administering those dollars and try to make good things happen for the good of the community. One of the things I'm probably most proud of is one, we've been able to attract incredible volunteers and board members who continue to step up and say, I want to serve and I want to be a part of this. And that is, I can't start naming all the names, but any past board member, and in particular the board chairs, were so instrumental.
I believe we've given out about $167 million, and our current assets are at about $160 million.
Central Minnesota Community Foundation has done a lot of work on social trust. So for years we've gauged every 5 years or so a survey that talked about how are people getting along together, you know, who do they hang out with. And all of that is what makes a person feel like they're a part of the community.
To be able to have the CMCF locally here gives us a direct line to stewardship in a way that all communities need.
I think their biggest strength is tying donors to the need in the community. So many people want to do good and they're just not sure how to do it. And they just feel uneasy when they're not aware of the opportunities. They know they want to help this particular cause, but what does that look like in central Minnesota? How can they make a positive impact? So the Community Foundation's been great with my clients about, let's go on a tour, let me give you some options, let me explain this organization. It really gives people the opportunity to fulfill their intent and understand where their money's going.
I'm proud of the people who have been involved in the foundation. And you think about the staff over the years, you know, just beautiful people inside and out doing really good work.
They've promoted philanthropy, they've helped people with their financial planning through charitable gifts, they've helped small charities get started via grants. They've just been a great resource for the community.
I mean, advocacy is their main support for an organization like ours. We are able to spread our message through their platforms to let people know that we exist because the Community Foundation is there to share the opportunities for giving in our community.
The idea that we've built a culture of philanthropy, not only in St. Cloud, but in these other communities. And I look at, if it wasn't for that, and for that both building of social capital and financial capital, there would be a lot of people that just wouldn't be where they are today.
You know, there's nobody that I know of that doesn't know about the Community Foundation. It seems like everybody is aware, and most people are well aware of the impact it's had on the community.
I think it's important to remember that we've been here 40 years. We are here, we are your local community foundation, and we're going to be here in the future. We're going to be here for our donors, our community. We're still going to be giving away scholarships, and we don't know what the next need is going to be, but that's why we have this community impact fund that people can give to. So when those needs come up in the next 20, 30 years, there's dollars available to support what the current needs are in our community.
They're making an impact. They're convening leaders. And when we say leaders, they're convening leaders who are intentional about the work that needs to be done and also making the investment.
We have a lot of economic uncertainty, and that's exactly where a foundation can work much like a bank can work and help put money in the right places.
I would say that most of our community challenges that we do have wouldn't be tackled, but they are always first at the table, showing that they are leaders and can help to tackle those issues.
No one was looking for a pile of money so they can smile and say, whoa, ho, ho, look what we did. You wanted to be able to say, look at the people we've helped.
How impactful. I know that inspired me, and I hope it inspires you for the next 40 years. It was great to see how much we've grown as a community over the past 40 years. Also, wow, those hairstyles. We've sure come a long way from the 85. Again, we thank you for being here tonight as we celebrate this incredible milestone. Tonight, we celebrate 5 honorees who have made significant contributions through their time, their talent, and treasures in the field of philanthropy. Lee and Vicki Morgan, Stephanie Brown, Farhia Iman, and Marianne Mahold. Right now, I'd like to welcome our CMCF Board Chair, Todd Zahn, to the stage. Todd will be introducing the first of tonight's award in philanthropy recipients.
Thank you, Greta. As we reflect on what community means to each of us, we would like to celebrate our Alex Didier Award in Philanthropy recipients, Lee and Vicki Morgan. Together, they've built a life centered around helping others and giving back to their community. Let's hear a little bit more about the Morgans.
I was born in New York City and grew up in western Pennsylvania, Ligonier, Arnold Palmer country. Went through schools there and went to private Catholic Girls Academy for high school, and then ended up going to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, which was where I eventually met Lee. And it was a great education. They have a co-op program, so I did jobs all over the country on my quarters where I worked. I taught history at an international school in the Netherlands for a year, learned to speak Dutch, and then came back and actually ended up in a position at the college teaching English as a foreign language to businessmen and engineers and teachers from abroad. And that was a fun experience for me. I really enjoyed it. And then I ended up taking on some territory that Lee was covering for the company, for the Antioch company, and did quite well in sales, enjoyed that, did that for 10 years. And at the same time, we were having children. We have a daughter and a son, and they're now, in their 50s, hard to believe.
I was born and raised in Yellow Springs, Ohio, high school, college, and then took over the family business, the family printing business in Yellow Springs. We changed the name several times, but ended up being called the Antioch Company. And we sold bookstore accessories, that is, stuff except books that bookstores sold, bookmarks, book plates, calendars, even some children's books. But by the early 80s, the book industry was consolidating and our sales were starting to flatten out. And we were looking to acquire somebody or expand, and there was a bankrupt photo album company in St. Cloud, Holes Webway. We came up, took a look, and ended up buying the company. And from Holes Webway sprang up Creative Memories, which actually eclipsed the whole company and became wildly successful.
Lee ended up coming up here. He stayed in a hotel for 10 years when he'd come up. He'd commute every week, which is a big change from him commuting a mile on his bicycle to flying up to St. Cloud for 4 or 5 days out of every week. And we ended up on a fluke. Lee's assistant up here, Cheryl Lido, suggested we might look at some houses in the middle of winter, and ended up coming to live here. Our daughter moved up here and had grandchildren, so I took care of the grandchildren for 5 years while she worked, and also became a Creative Memories consultant because I loved teaching people how to organize and preserve their photos, and that was a real, sort of my pinnacle career of the time that I worked. And then in 2008, we both retired and lived on the lake, on Clearwater Lake in Annandale.
When I took over the business, I was the youngest of 4 kids. None of the others were interested in a small printing business. So I was their last hope. So my father gave me the stock in the company, and we had a side agreement that any dividends on the shares that he gave me, I was to give to a charity of his choice. So it was just natural for me to give away whatever we earned in the company. And then my father also had a very strong opinion that the purpose of a business, frankly any organization, is to serve human needs. Now, he had to make a profit to survive, but that was never the purpose. It was to serve human needs. So we had a company foundation, and it was a complicated foundation because we distinguished between cause-related marketing, which benefited the company, and real philanthropy, where it was pretty much anonymous, and it had the company had no benefit from it.
I kind of knew about Steve Jewell, and they would share with us initiatives that they were involved in, and so then we just got to know them. I mean, between Steve and we worked with Susan Lorenz was a gal that we worked with that helped us position our philanthropy, our personal philanthropy especially, to worthwhile causes, or helped us to just understand what the lay of the land was. I mean, we came here not knowing about buying a house in the dead of winter and all the St. Cloud, Minnesota stuff. But we learned, and like I say, they were welcoming and helpful.
St. Cloud is a very diverse community. The demographics are changing rapidly, and to straddle that is very difficult. A private family foundation can't do it. The community foundation, they have relationships that I can only imagine.
It's important for people to give, and supporting, helping human needs, providing for people who don't have as much as we do, and other just needs that need a bigger umbrella. I can give something to somebody on a street corner, but the idea of providing legal aid, to an organization, or building the development characteristics of an organization so they can in fact raise their own money, that kind of thing really is helped by philanthropy that's not encumbered.
One of the unexpected benefits of engaging in philanthropy is it gives you a different perspective on the world. I was a businessman for a long time, and what I saw was quite different than what I see when I'm looking to give away money. You're looking at a different constituency, your motives are different, everything's different. So I believe, from a personal perspective, it has enriched my life because it's added a new dimension to how I see the world.
It's not just the local stuff, but we think that climate change and global warming is a huge, huge issue. And if I had a magic wand and could change it, I'd do everything I could to mitigate climate change and cut back on all these fossil fuel production and carbon emissions. Lee started several years ago the St. Cloud chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, which is now sort of the chapter for CD6, the local congressional district.
Environmentally, I don't think people realize St. Cloud is energy independent. As a city government, they produce more power than they consume. But I'm very proud of the way St. Cloud has evolved with the demographic changes. I don't think people realize what a huge change it is and how dramatic the change is. It's really impressive. It's very impressive. I'll be bragging about St. Cloud for a long time.
Congratulations, Vicki and Lee.
We've been in the Annandale, St. Cloud area for 30 years, and they told me I had 1 minute. Actually, they had 2 minutes. Lee gets one, I get one. To just thank everybody and to tell you how powerful our time here has been. We've learned so much. We started out, we've been married 57 years. We started out, the time, talent, treasure drill. Well, we had time. I wasn't sure we had very much in the way of talent. We acquired some talents that enabled things like progressive dinners and some of the other fun things that we've done around here. And we've been extremely fortunate to have treasure that we can share. What they say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And we feel so grateful that we've been able to share.
I get the last word. The family secret is that we spend a lot of our time raising money.
That's true.
And I particularly wanted to thank people here who raise money, because that's vital in developing the ecosystem around philanthropy. you're the creative ones. You're the guys doing the matching of the needs with the resources. And I very much, deeply, deeply appreciate that. So that's all I'd like to add. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations again to the Morgans. Our next award recipient showcases exactly what it means to be a partner to the Community Foundation. Accepting the Professional Award in Philanthropy, let's hear from Stephanie Brown.
How I would describe Stephanie Brown. She is very passionate, she is very professional, she is wicked smart, and she is just an incredibly kind and fun person.
Steph is fierce. She is an advocate for her clients. She's an advocate for her team. She cares a lot about her team. And I think that's what makes her such a good mentor, is that she just is so caring, and she has your back.
I grew up in St. Michael, small town St. Michael, and then I went to college in Wisconsin, but I met my husband there, and we're both from central Minnesota, so we decided to move back. I went to college and got a business degree, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. And as part of my requirements, I had to take a business law class, and the professor came up to me and said, "Have you considered law? You seem to have an aptitude for it." And I didn't have any plans, so any real direction. So I thought, well, that sounds good, and just committed to that. Turned out great.
Her specialty is business, real estate, and estate planning. All of them go together. The 3 practice areas. Our business owners all need estate planning, and it's a way for business owners to think about the next generation and how they're divesting some wealth, how they're protecting wealth.
I knew with my business background that I wanted to do transactional work, that I didn't want to do any courtroom work. I wanted to be on the solution side, on the drafting side, and a lot of the jobs that I was looking at, they had some business component, but then they would say, and we'll have you do some municipal prosecutions. So Rinke Noonan had a job that was just transactional work and seemed like a perfect fit, as it turned out to be.
Steph is so approachable. She is wicked smart, and she makes it easy to talk to her and to ask questions. When there's things that I didn't know or I didn't understand, she's able to put it into simple terms without making me feel uncomfortable.
Definitely my favorite part of my job is the problem-solving aspect. I really love the puzzle of it. So a lot of times I'll get a call from somebody saying, hey, we have an idea of what we want to do, we're just not sure how to do it, or we've talked to several people and they've told us that they don't know how to do it. The creative planning side, the puzzle solving side of that is really the piece that I enjoy.
Estate planning is so important because it protects the family and it protects your goals through philanthropy, or through, maybe your goal with your estate plan is to avoid some taxes. Maybe you're passionate about the community and you have certain aspects of the community that you really want to make sure are furthered, and you can do that through planned giving, and you can do that through CMCF.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important for my clients about Central Minnesota Community Foundation is that it's not just the opportunity to have your philanthropy needs met, but also to have your community needs met. So oftentimes people could just give to any organization, but they don't want to give money to a nameless, faceless organization, even ones that do terrific work. What they really enjoy is the opportunity to see those dollars in action and be part of that solution. So the tours that CMCF gives, the events they have, it gives the clients the opportunity to actually be involved in the philanthropy. And it is not just a one-way street. It's not just them giving money for the good of the community, but the community giving back to the clients.
She is committed to helping others in any capacity that she can, and she does it graciously with a smile on her face, and she's just wants to help others and wants to help our community.
So I sit on several committees. I really enjoy my work with Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation, and I was on the board of CMCF and on their Good Samaritan Fund for many years. The Good Samaritan Fund, if people don't know about it, is an amazing cause. I also do a lot of work with District 742, both through some of their employer council work, but then I get dragged into a lot of booster clubs and committees for small events, and it's really fun. I spend a ton of time on my kids' initiatives, so usually if somebody's looking for me, I'm at a baseball field somewhere.
Stephanie Brown is deserving of this professional award because she is an advocate for her clients. She's an advocate for the community. She has worked countless hours. I've seen her work these countless hours, making sure that the client is taken care of, and then in the background, she's always making sure that the community is taken care of. And that is really her goal.
The passion she brings day in and day out, you know, she's an inspiration for me as, you know, I continue to grow and develop as a professional and a community leader to be that type of leader in our community.
My favorite day and the thing I'm always happiest with is when I'm able to achieve something for someone they didn't think they were going to be able to achieve. When they come in and say, we've been told this can't happen, and I say, well, just hold on a minute there, I think we can figure this out. Or when people tell me that the process wasn't as terrible as they thought it was going to be. People don't like to do estate planning, it's not a comfortable conversation, and it's pretty much a regular occurrence that at the end of the meeting, somebody will say, well, that wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. And to give people peace of mind on a difficult topic is something I really enjoy on the estate planning side.
Congratulations, Stephanie, on receiving the professional award. I am so incredibly proud of you and thankful for everything you have done for our community and the leadership that you bring and you share with everyone. Congratulations.
Your team at Rankin Noonan, we're so proud of you, and we're happy to have you as the leader. Very deserving. Thank you.
Congratulations, Stephanie.
I'll tell you right now, the Morgans did a much better job staying on the time limit than I will. I think Greta will tell you that when she called to say I won this award, I was pretty surprised, but I've been pretty surprised by the whole thing because I don't remember sending a resume to St. Cloud. I was living in the cities when I went to law school, and I intended to practice in the cities, and I got a call from Rankin Noonan saying, we received your resume, we'd like to interview you. And my thought was, how did you get that? But my husband at the time said, well, just go see what they have to say, because I was interviewing for jobs and not finding anything that really spoke to me. Just go, it's good for your interview skills. And I called him from the parking lot afterwards. I didn't say a word, I was just sobbing. And he said, oh crap, we're moving to St. Cloud. And good thing we did, because the community's been amazing. District 742 has been amazing. The opportunities we've had here, the friends we've made, it's been amazing. I told him then, I think I have to take this job. It sounds like my dream job. And corny as it sounds, for 25 years, it has been my dream job. And I will grant you not every day. But in a lot of ways, and in a lot more days than most people get the opportunity to have. So I'm very honored. I am honored to work with my clients, whether that be to transition their businesses so that they can see the reward of what they've done through all their years of work, and we can keep that business here in this community, or through their estate planning to protect their families, protect their assets, or through their philanthropic planning to build their legacy. I'm also really honored to work with all the other professional advisors in town. There are amazing professionals in every industry here in this community, many of them in this room, many of whom are not only my colleagues, but my friends, and that includes Carrie and Greta, who get frequent phone calls from me saying, okay, I've got a unique one for the client, can you help me? And we'll brainstorm and come up with a solution. And that also includes my amazing team who all came here to support me tonight. And I'm so very honored to receive this award. Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of our award recipients. I'm Carrie Affelter, Director of Donor Relations for CMCF. I just have to say that I can feel the energy in the room tonight. It's filled with not only memories of the past, but hope for the future. Join me as I have the honor of presenting tonight's Social Trust Award. Our Social Trust Award recipient fully embodies what it means to be a weaver in our community. Let's hear more about Faria Iman and what makes her a social trust leader.
How would I describe Farhia? I would definitely say she is just a bundle of energy, joy, delight.
An absolute treasure of a person. She radiates positivity and joy and everything good in the world.
Very kind, very intentional. She's very caring in the sense of like community and community cohesion.
She's a community connector. She really understands what it is that Central Minnesota and St. Cloud is striving to do, to be a connected and amazing place to live, work, and play.
Farhia is actually a refugee. So she came to America when she was young and ended up in St. Cloud with family. She went to Tech High School, you know, navigating all those foundational years as a refugee.
My journey has been long. We were in a refugee camp in Uganda. We actually enlisted in the refugee camp in 1991 and didn't leave that refugee camp until 2001. We were one of the lucky few. I'm sure you guys are aware there's 1 in millions that get resettled, and we were one of the lucky ones that were resettled in America.
And then we came to actually Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We were there for like about 2-3 months. My mom didn't like the environment and didn't really want us to live over there. And there just was not a community. There wasn't a Somali community, there wasn't a Muslim community. And a lot of our family members were in Minnesota, actually, Marshall, Minnesota.
My older siblings and my mom worked at low-skill jobs, which is most of the time refugees worked there. And one of the major companies that employed a lot of refugees closed down. And then we had to then look for other jobs, and then we were told to come to St. Cloud, and that's how we ended up in St. Cloud.
I first met Farhia when she had opened up her coffee shop over on the east side of St. Cloud with some of her sisters and got to know her there. And she ended up being a community advocate. She worked for the county and child protection services. And then I worked with her when I was at United Way of Central Minnesota in a variety of ways in connecting families to early childhood experiences, early childhood literacy opportunities, and helping families understand the importance of early childhood literacy.
So once I got my bachelor's in social work, I got to move back to Somalia for a year as a social worker there, training social workers in Somalia, which was the best experience of my life. And you know, with that experience, I learned how much of an opportunity I have as a Somali American, and how much, you know, how much I have.
Now she's working in the field of autism and providing centers for that.
There's 1 in 16 children that are getting diagnosed with autism in the Somali community, whereas the general population is 1 in 30, 31 I think, or 32. So then in me pursuing my clinical license, I was like, you know, this would be a really good connection, a really good mashup between what I'm trying to pursue and the need that's in the community. And I know locally there's months and months of waiting lists for EIDVI or ABA clinics for children, and I just saw that there was a need there, and I wanted to fill that need.
I think when you meet Farhia and when you work with Farhia, you can tell that she cares. She's passionate. Clients can feel that. She wants to learn, but she also wants to teach staff.
She's just very much, let me look at the problem and then let's come up with a solution instead of freaking out. And just in general, her way of looking at a problem and how to solve that. And also working with others to get that shared outcome.
Social trust is I feel like a lot of responsibility. Obviously, to me, means that you are building cohesiveness within the community, and you're a leader, and you're building bridges between different communities, where there's different service providers. And for me, like, that's a heavy thing to carry.
She really acts as a bridge to different communities that have come into the St. Cloud area in the past 30 years, and her knowing the culture that she has immigrated from in Somalia, and being East African, to be able to share her wisdom with that culture, with, you know, our current culture here in St. Cloud, has been invaluable to us, and being able to live in both worlds and understand and honor and recognize both worlds is a true gift that she has.
She's very family oriented. Her mom runs a business in the community. Her sister's opening a treatment center. So her whole family is just rooted here, and they also, as a whole, want to be part of the community and find ways to be business owners and contributors, and I think that's important to her as well.
She's done amazing things in the community in her own life. She's chosen to be positive and not to be wrapped up in everything that happens in the news, in St. Cloud and everything. I think she is a great example of what St. Cloud could be.
I think a lot of reasons she's deserving of the Social Trust Award, but finding people who are willing to do things that are hard and speak up about issues when it isn't popular, I think that's an admirable quality.
I think we're all really trying to have that same end goal of creating a better central Minnesota. And she's been able to propel that through her work, her passion, and her ambition.
One of the things I do all the time is when I'm like making prayers to God, I ask him to like make my intentions pure in the things I do. And for me to be recognized for the things I do is something I didn't really imagine, and I'm so honored to be recognized.
Congratulations, Farhia. You are definitely deserving of the Central Minnesota Community Foundation Social Trust Award. I couldn't think of a better person to receive this opportunity.
Everything that you've done has showed me who I needed to be, so I'm so proud of you, and I hope everything you want in life becomes true and more.
Congratulations, Farhia, on the Social Trust Award. I can't think of anybody on this planet that is more deserving of this than you. As a social worker, as a mom, as a human, I am lucky to have you and to know you.
Congratulations, Faria.
Hello, thank you guys so much. I'm so honored to receive this award. I thought about what I wanted to say today. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. All I wanted to say is, like, as a small American, first generation immigrant, there's so much on our plate, and every time I wake up, I think of like how much of an opportunity I have being here, and all I want to do is like help people, and I'm very passionate about the work I do. I want to thank my mom who's here today. Without her, I don't know where we would be, and she wears a lot of hats, and she raised 9 children by herself. And I just hope to make her proud. I love what I do, and with the autism program, it's something I'm very passionate about. We've been doing this a little over a year, and we've made so much progress with the work that we do, and I love seeing the difference that we make in the families that we work with. But thank you guys so much for this award, and I really appreciate it.
Again, congratulations. If you're not aware, our Social Trust Award recipient gets to give a $2,500 scholarship or grant to their charity of choice, and hers was LEAF, and so we always do a check presentation there. Yes. As we wind down tonight's program, I have the pleasure of announcing a new award. On behalf of the Women's Fund, we'd like to present the inaugural Barb Carlson Award to a volunteer who has gone above and beyond throughout the years. For those of you that aren't familiar with the late Barb Carlson, she believed and was a dedicated family member of CMCF for so many years and believed that giving of anything, your time, talent, passion, energy, or resources is what makes living worthwhile. In honor of Barb's legacy, presented by the Women's Fund of CMCF, join me in welcoming Marianne Mahold, this year's Barb Carlson Award recipient, to the stage.
Thank you, Carrie, and all the members of the Women's Fund who established this award in honor of my friend and the woman I call my life mentor, Barb Carlson. Thank you to Greta and Steve and the CMCF and CG staffs for your belief and ongoing support for the Women's Fund. It is with a very humble heart I accept this award, knowing it's on behalf of the women who gathered over 20 years ago in Molly Renslow's lit family room to hear Barb's idea to form a fund to empower women and girls at all stages of life. For all those women who later gathered and filled Post-it notes with ideas for the fund, and for those women leaders who took those ideas, formed a board, and sent the Women's Fund in motion. To all who have served on the Women's Fund board, oops, these days, the grants and starfish committees, those who have worked on Women on Stage and now Dancing with Our Stars, and on behalf of all the women and girls who have been impacted by the Women's Fund, I am so honored to accept this award. The Women's Fund has enriched my life in so many ways. I have met many brilliant and talented women and men who do amazing work in our community. Through the Women's Fund, I've gained insights into the needs facing us. And as Barb believed, when we collaborate, and to quote Paul Wellstone, we all do better when we all do better. Barb once said to me, we just have to do whatever we can. So I keep this Post-it note with these 4 words, do whatever you can, in my wallet. In honor of Barb, I ask everyone to go home, grab a Post-it, write these 4 words on it, put it on your mirror, put it in your wallet, and every day, just do whatever you can to keep Barb's vision and legacy alive. Thank you so very much.
Congratulations again, Marianne. As we reflect with gratitude on the generosity of our past, present, and future donors, we recognize that there are so many more thank yous in order for people throughout the community. So many more thank yous. I keep screwing that sentence up. Never guessed I practiced all night, right? To the people who are committed to bettering our community. But we really want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our retiring board members, Jason Burnick, Paul Thompson, and Kathy Julis, for their philanthropic leadership in our community.
And I would also like to acknowledge Erin Bitson, who was our board chair ending June 30th. She was not able to be with us tonight, but she was a great leader and impacted the foundation in her time, and she still serves on our board. So if you think about Erin, she's just not here tonight, but she did a great job. And say a big thank you to all of our sponsors that helped with our event tonight. Thank you so much to Carrie for her last remarks. As we heard from our award recipients today, we are blessed to be a part of this community. We know this is a team effort, and without our team from the past and the present, we wouldn't be celebrating 40 years of philanthropy today. Would the CMCF team please stand up to be recognized? Carrie Abfalter, April Burton, Taylor Doden, Chrissy Ravutsky, and Katie Reichert, who also was not able to be here tonight. Thank you to each and every one of you on our team. Thank you to all of you for all you do to support CMCF, our donors, our community. You're amazing. Thank you. Also, we'd like to give a special thank you to Dan Barth and his team at DMR for helping us preserve so many legacies with the wonderful videos that we were presented tonight. And lastly, but not least, thank you to our community giving team for empowering us to serve our local communities. We wish everyone a wonderful evening, and we ask that the CMCF Board of Directors please come to the front of the stage after this event so we could get a quick photo. We truly are better together. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. Feel free to stay and eat some more or have some beverages and enjoy each other's company. Thank you.